Okay, so my sawmill has been working great ever since I first bought it, and the engine hasn't given me any trouble. That was up until just after Hurricane Helene hit us. I had a huge tree that uprooted right next to my sawmill, and it literally, like the root ball, was literally 2 feet away from my mill. And a couple weeks or 3 weeks after the storm, I was going to start milling some of the logs that I have backlogged, essentially, kind of running behind. And I fired up my mill here, and it was just idling. And when I gave it some throttle, it was not going past idle. So I did some research, and everything kind of pointed to the governor being the issue. So I was fiddling with the governor. As soon as I basically touched the governor and then fired it back up, it would just go to full throttle, like absolute full throttle. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Initially, this wasn't moving. And I discovered that the thing that this connects to on the carburetor was jammed. So I unjammed it, and then this was moving again. So I could move the throttle, no problem. However, and I should say that I thought I had it fixed at that point. So I fired it up, it was idling. I gave it a little bit of throttle, it throttled up, then it throttled back down. Okay, so I thought I fixed it. That was until I went to try to mill another log. And when I gave it just a little bit of throttle, I mean, I barely even had to touch it, it would go all the way up, full-blown throttle. And I figured I must have done something with I must have screwed up the governor. Or one of these, something that has something to do with the governor. At one point, I actually, this spring here popped off, and I had not taken a picture of this before I was messing with it, so I wasn't sure which hole the spring needed to go to. Well, eventually, somebody on the Kohler engine Facebook group helped me out. Showed me what I was missing when I was looking at the technical manual. So I got that put in place, and I kept fiddling with things, and no matter what I did, it could go from idle. I'd give it a little bit of throttle like that, and it would just go full bore, maximum throttle. And if I left the engine running for any, maybe a minute or so, it would go full throttle, and then no matter what I did, it would not go back. I'd have to just shut the engine off. So what did I ended up doing? My very last attempt was I loosened this part up here, that nut there, and I put my pliers on here, and these are just clamping pliers, and I tend to like them because I can let go of them. And so what you need to do is first you have to put your thing into full throttle. You loosen this up, this nut here. So you see that little thing sticking up there? That's actually the thing that controls your governor. You turn that counterclockwise until it stops, and then you tighten it back up. Again, you have to have your throttle at maximum position when you're doing that. So I had done that, but it wasn't solving the problem. So after fiddling with this for days, I came out here and actually used pliers, because before I was just turning it with my hand and then letting go and then tightening things back up. Well, I discovered is that when I was tightening things back up, the little governor thing was kind of moving a little bit, and just that slight little bit of movement was making it so it wasn't set in the right position, which was causing it to be full throttle. So what I did is I put these vice pliers on here, and so that I could, really keep it from moving. I could hold on to it with one hand as I was screwing that nut back on there, making sure that it stayed in that position. And to my pleasant surprise, that actually solved the problem. So you just got to make sure that if you're having issues with your throttle, and it's not your carburetor, it's your governor, you just need to make sure that this thing is turned counterclockwise until it doesn't move anymore. And you want to make sure that it stays in that position as you tighten things down, because if it just goes clockwise just a little bit, it's going to be enough to make your engine not work like it's supposed to, the throttle. So yeah, that was ultimately my problem. If I had noticed that this bracket here was not moving because of my carburetor, I would have never messed with the governor, and I wouldn't have had this issue probably. But because I was messing with the governor first, instead of making sure that the reason why this wasn't moving was because of the carburetor linkage, or whatever you want to call it, this would have been a much simpler problem for me to solve. So I kind of made it worse by screwing around with this first. But anyway, that's ultimately how I solved it. So now I can finally get back to milling.